So we don't do retention save plays, which is historically around what a customer success function has been focused on. We don't necessarily do renewal marketing in the sense that we drive pipeline or progression to help influence a renewal deal. We don't do upsell and cross-sell. That's something that our demand gen team focuses on specifically. And we don't do customer references, which is something that our corporate marketing team focuses on. So we actually created a slide that looks like this, that basically says, what are the things that we don't do? So we don't do retention save plays, which is historically around what a customer success function has been focused on. We don't necessarily do renewal marketing in the sense that we drive pipeline or progression to help influence a renewal deal. We don't do upsell and cross-sell. That's something that our demand gen team focuses on specifically. And we don't do customer references, which is something that our corporate marketing team focuses on. And so once you get clear as far as what is it that you don't do, then it becomes easier to articulate sort of the strategic pillars and your missions of what it is that you do as a team. And to give you an example of what our team's mission and strategic pillars are, as you can see, it's focused on sort of these three foundational elements about how do we drive ultimately deeper product adoption and maturity? How do we ignite our customers, become advocates and super fans for our solutions and products? And then the third pillar is how do we drive deeper community engagement so that we create these relationships and ignite some of that passion so that customers want to feel that they're part of something bigger than themselves. And I'm going to be talking about each of these elements in more detail and give you some of those examples, especially if you're brand new to customer marketing or you're looking to see how to expand your programs going forward. So the first foundational element really comes down to community. And I look at this as sort of the backbone that makes everything else work from your customer programs on up. And I think it really comes down to building connection and purpose and having that shared experience around, how can you create these magic moments where people feel like they're able to talk shop, they feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves. And it doesn't necessarily have to be an online forum, which is what traditionally, I think from a B2B context, what community is kind of labeled at. It could even be just two people talking together on a Blue Jeans call or a Zoom conversation, and it could eventually scale out to include dozens of people to not hundreds, if not thousands of individuals. But it ultimately kind of gets created based on a shared understanding or a mission or a feeling that they're part of something where they feel like there's something special there and they want to continue to grow it and they feel inherently responsible for driving community. In our particular case, we have a number of different community channels that we look at. The first one being our Adobe Experience League, as well as the Marketing Nation community for some of our customers. But then beyond just kind of our online forums, you could also think about things like user groups, meetups, user conferences like our Adobe Summit. But they could also be things around like executive roundtables. So folks that might be at a certain level and also be part of sort of a tight-knit community or a small group. But at the same time, it could be exclusive programs or titles where people feel like they have a shared understanding or being part of something that's exclusive or just for a certain member or a certain amount of people there. And so that's sort of that first pillar that we run within customer marketing today. The second thing that goes sort of hand in hand with this is around customer advocacy. And this is what I think historically, for the most part, at least for probably the past 5 or 6 years, this is what most customer marketing functions have really been devoted solely on, which is around how do we ignite customer passion? How do we tell more stories? How do we provide a platform for our customers to share their story, to elevate their brand, et cetera, and create those career-defining moments for them? If you boil it down to it, I think it comes down to sort of these three pillars of customer advocacy. It's about personal branding, it's providing peer networking, and then it's also rewards and recognition to elevate that experience for your customers. So I'll talk about a little bit about each one of these in a little bit more detail. From a personal branding standpoint, these could be things as simple as some thought leadership opportunities from speaking at your events, to talking to media, to talking to your PR stakeholders. But it also could be things around being involved in some of your product beta testing or being part of some of these elite programs that you might be running, from like a customer advisory board to anything around being an expert practitioner. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's about how can you help your customer really achieve that next promotion, help them double their salary or get to that next threshold. From a peer networking standpoint, this goes hand in hand with some of the community elements I talked about on the past couple slides, but it's giving them that sort of anchor where they can kind of come together, talk shop, and share those experiences. And then the third one, which I think most companies, they tend to think that it has to be just swag or tangible goods and things like that. But it absolutely doesn't have to be. It could also be program titles. It could be recognition from a customer rewards program. It could also be, product features and being early adopters to your technology. And also from a gamification standpoint, having access to different levels and points within your own community.